In the book, The Fellowship of the Ring, in the chapter A Long Expected Party, Bilbo says something that has always struck me because I feel like it is such a fantastic description of different moments of overwhelm, not just in homeschooling, but in motherhood, generally speaking. He tells Gandalf, "I feel thin, sort of stretched, like butter scraped over too much bread." Now, if that isn't a fantastic description of overwhelm from a woman's perspective, I don't know what is. There are so many times in my life where I have felt like that exact description was how I was feeling. So the thing is, Bilbo is not lazy, he is not incapable, and he's not unproductive. He's just stretched beyond what is natural and beyond what he has the current capacity for. And I think that that exact feeling is how so many homeschool mothers feel in general. You covered math, you covered reading, you touched on writing, you mentioned history here and there, and yet by 3 p.m. you feel completely unsatisfied with what has been accomplished. And it's not because nothing happened, it's just because everything was stretched so thin. So I would like to put forth that perhaps what your homeschool really needs is more density. Not a different curriculum, not additional extracurriculars, not a new friend group, and not even more hours in the day. So today I'm going to show you where that thinness may be happening and how to instead make your homeschool more concentrated, more substantial, and deeply effective. And I believe in the end, you may even agree with me that these are ways to trick our brains into feeling less overwhelmed. I have personally found that when I go deep instead of going wide, I definitely feel less overwhelmed. Okay, so first of all, I think what we need to work on doing is stop sampling and start saturating. So a spread thin homeschool that is going to make you feel overwhelmed is one where you are trying to fit in snippets here and there instead of just hanging out in a subject. So it might look like 20 minutes of math, 8 quick minutes of spelling, about 15 minutes of reading. So the pattern ends up being switch subjects, someone interrupts, switch back again. It feels so busy. It might even feel productive, but it is just really not dense, and learning requires focused attention. Our neural pathways strengthen through immersion, not through sampling. So if you are only ever skimming the surface of subjects and never going deep, you're really not giving your brain an opportunity to make those connections. So the real fix for this is what I like to call block scheduling. You may have heard it before, but you just set aside a time block, and that is what you are working on inside that time block. So you are instructing in a math lesson, your child is completing the math lesson, you're grading the paper, he's making corrections, the flashcards are happening, then he's working on drill sheets. Like it's a 1 hour block where you are just working deeply on math and gaining an understanding. It's not one of these instances where the child finishes his work as quickly as possible and then moves quickly on to the next thing. You're really just sitting with the material. You really protect that time block, and you make sure that all of the work in that one subject is done during that time. You don't want to have to loop back around to it later. So the next idea that I want to put forth, and let me just say, you don't have to take all of this advice. Take what works for you. I don't even recommend doing a complete overhaul and trying to implement all of these tips at once. Do one per week, or take the 2 or 3 that really resonate with you and you feel like are going to work in your homeschool and work on those. Just because I'm saying it does not mean that you have to do it. And if you have a system right now that is working well for you, stick with it. Okay, so this next tip that I want to offer up is closing the loop daily. Now, there's different kinds of people, different types of brains out there. I personally have a brain that despises open loops. I am a loop closer. So if I have open loops in my life in any area, it's annoying to me. I like to have closed loops. So I'm a loop closer. Some of you may be loop openers and you're really comfortable with open loops. To me, it's just a frustrating thing. So in my homeschool, for me to not feel overwhelmed, I have to close as many of those loops as possible on the daily. So here's an example of open loop homeschooling. You assign the work, the child does the work, but then he shoves it in a folder and puts it in his bin, and you may never see it again. That is not a closed loop. That is very much an open loop. And that's also a reason why progress might not be happening in your homeschool. So let's go back to my Bilbo Baggins example. Bilbo felt stretched thin because something was draining him slowly. We all know that it was the ring. Okay, so what in our homeschool might be draining some of our energy? Could it be that we're having to reteach information to our child because our child is not really grasping the concept because his work is not being graded? I see this happen a lot in composition, and it was happening in my home too. And I couldn't figure out, like, why are my children not getting any better at writing? Well, the solution was really simple. They're not getting better because I am not checking their paper and then requiring them to fix it. So these concepts, I'm presenting them, but they're not getting cemented in my children's brain. So closing that loop by checking the work and then requiring corrections of your children is a great way to make sure that you are not being drained by work that is just not really getting locked into our children's brains. So now the way that this closed loop process happens in our home is first I assign the work, then the child does the work, then I check the work, then the child goes back, makes corrections, and then brings it back to me and I check it a final time to make sure that all of those corrections are done. Each time I'm checking, I'm making sure to go over the information again. Okay, well, you didn't punctuate here, or okay, you missed a comma here. When you're reading this sentence, do you take a natural pause? Wherever your natural pause is, that's where the comma needs to be. So you're going over the concepts again and then having your child go back and immediately make those corrections. This is the way that the learning happens. This is the way that correction works its magic. But if you don't ever go through those final processes, you miss out on so much of that magic. Immediate feedback is what strengthens retention for our children. But delayed correction actually weakens it. Your child is out of the moment has passed. And so bringing it back around again, they may not even remember what they were doing. So it's really important to try and get that done as quickly as possible. Unchecked work is really just academic theater. That, in my opinion, is what a lot of homeschoolers from 10 to 15 years ago would absolutely label busy work. Now, busy work is the label that's ascribed to any kind of workbook, and workbooks have a bad name. But really, busy work is work that has no purpose. If you are making sure that the work that your child is doing does have a purpose because it is getting checked and they are making corrections, it's no longer busy work. Okay, this next suggestion is so important, and it's also so hard. We have to protect our attention, or we are always going to be spread thin. So that feeling of being spread thin, it's not really about time. It's really about divided attention. And I bet you know where I'm going with this, but I'm going to bring it up again. Social media, the phones, we cannot expect to do the best job possible teaching our children if our attention is always being split between what is happening on our phone and what is happening in the home or the classroom. Thankfully, maybe not thankfully, but the phone is really not the only way that our attention is split. As homeschool moms, a lot of times it's split for much more virtuous reasons. For instance, folding the laundry, or trying to get the kitchen clean, or even preparing the next meal. There are thousands of ways, probably, that a homeschool mom's attention can be split between the education of the children and all of the other needs of the home, as well as, younger children and the chores that need to be done every day. I mean, there are so many different ways for our attention to be pulled away from schooling. And every single one of those context switches drains mental energy. Our brain requires re-engagement time after every single interruption. So how are we going to fix this? Well, the most obvious and really the easiest way to start is to keep your phone in a completely different room. Do not allow it to distract you. So that solves one area. Another fix is to have defined interruption windows, so you can build these into your schedule. So you allow a certain amount of time at the end of every block for children to come and ask you questions that don't necessarily have to do with the subject at hand, because obviously if it has to do with the math that is blocked for that time, it's on topic. But if it has to do with a science project that's not due until the end of the week, like that needs to wait, right? So you have assigned interruption times. You can also use these assigned interruption times to go switch over the laundry, to go, change the diaper that needs to be changed. It's really best to try, if there is a dirty diaper, you're just going to have to go and change it then, and you will be able to get yourself back into the window. There are certain things, obviously, that you cannot delay, but the laundry being changed over is not an emergency. I say this as a woman who has had times where there were 10 loads of laundry that needed to be done, and it still wasn't an emergency. As long as everybody has clothes for the next day, laundry is not an emergency. There are no chores that are an absolute emergency. There are just, we need to hone in a little bit on our time management in regards to home tasks, but use that 10-minute block that 10-minute time section that you set at the end of your blocks for, answering off-topic questions, getting everybody set for the next go round, making sure everybody gets a water and a bathroom break, and switching over the laundry, turning on the crock pot, those types of things. Try and squeeze it into that time. And if you need more than 10 minutes, you need more than 10 minutes. So give yourself 20 minutes or whatever. The point is, have a plan and then work the plan. Don't just react throughout the day. Okay, this is a big one, and it's separating school from life admin. We were just talking about this a little bit in the last one, but trying to run a school and a home at the same time. I am really big on compartmentalization. It's how I'm able to work effectively as a homeschool mom, as the manager of my home, and also as a businesswoman. So what this looks like in real life is, when I am homeschooling, that is what I am doing. I am not thinking about my business. I am not thinking about what is for dinner. I already planned what's for dinner, and I did it during another time, not during school. So when I am in homeschool mode, school is what my brain is focused on. When I am in work mode, I have different times of the day, really early in the morning from 12 o'clock until 1 o'clock, and then 1 hour during quiet reading time when the children are reading. And every once in a while, I'll have some time in the evening as well. When I am in work mode, work is all I'm doing. I'm not scrolling on Instagram. I'm not trying to check math. I'm not even answering math questions. I'll say, when I am done with this at 1 o'clock, I will be happy to help you with that. So there are boundaries around different times. And then when I am in homemaker mode, that is what I'm focused on. I'm not thinking about school curriculum. I'm not thinking about my business. I'm busting my rear end, cooking and cleaning and having the children do their chores. So if you compartmentalize, you're able to give your full focus to whatever it is that is in front of you. And I have personally found that I am much more effective and efficient if I'm not trying to multitask in that regard by mixing the different areas of my brain. So I would recommend giving that a try. It really is helpful, but you have to stay on top of your brain. You can't let your brain wander. You have to pull it back in. So this is all about the cognitive load theory, and it's really simple. You cannot teach fractions well while you're also trying to remember that you need to make some dentist appointments. You cannot gather your thoughts to put in a grocery order while also trying to read the church email. Those mental overlaps really to borrow Bilbo's phrase again, it just scrapes the butter thinner and thinner. So this is one area where my loose ends notebook really helps, because sometimes you really need to remember to make those dentist appointments. It's just not in the middle of fractions. So I keep my notebook that I've talked about before, and I will write it down. I'll add it to the list. Don't forget to make dentist appointments. Don't forget to order more chicken breast. I'll also jot down the academic stuff. So if I need to make sure to do a little bit of research and maybe print out a few extra worksheets for fractions, because I have a child that's just really struggling to grasp this one concept and he just needs some more practice on it, I'll jot it down so that when I don't want to pull out my computer and open that up when I'm teaching, because it's so easy to go down a rabbit hole. Oh, well, there's an email that needs to be returned. Oh, well, I need to do this or this or this. I don't want to open my computer during school time. So I'll jot it down. And then the next time I have my computer open, I can remember to print out a few more worksheets for fractions or whatever. So whenever a thought pops up that you know you're going to need to take care of, you just write it down on the paper. And then when it's time to do that sort of work, you have it there and you will not forget. Okay, now the next strategy is all about reducing physical friction. So much time in our lives as mothers is lost by looking for things. So you may lose 7 minutes in your math block because your children can't find their math books, or they can't find their graph paper notebook, or their pencil. They can't find their pencil. Those minutes really fragment the rhythm, and it makes it so that you're not getting your full time's worth out of every time block. So this is why it's really important to train your children to put their materials away after each subject is finished, have a spot where the pencils go in their box, and really train them in the habits that are going to make sure that things are not strewn all over the house, because it is time that is wasted that you can never get back again. And you can go so much further in your homeschool if those minutes are not being eaten up by sloppy habits. Okay, my last point is that I really want us as mothers to stop multitasking. Now, I know that the scientific research says that women are much better at multitasking than men, and we really are, for the most part, much better at multitasking. That, however, does not mean that multitasking is the best and most efficient way to do something. It's actually not. What we are really doing is rapidly switching our attention, and rapidly switching our attention reduces productivity significantly. You feel like you've been working all day long, but what you have to show for it is not nearly as dense as you would like for it to be. Okay, so let's bring this back around to our friend Bilbo. Bilbo was not weak. He was stretched thin. His attention was being diluted. And of course, he had a supernatural thing at play here, which us mothers do not necessarily have. But I think that it is just a really good visualization. I don't think that most homeschool mothers are failing. I think that they are just stretched too thin and not giving the attention where it needs to go. We don't need more bread. We just need more butter. We need concentration. We need depth instead of breadth. And we need focus instead of fragmentation. So if you want a simple daily system that forces you to close that loop every single day and prevents your homeschool from being spread thin, then that is exactly what I built the Homeschool Checklist Protocol to help you with. You can check that out in the description below. I'll see you in the next video.